Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome back. Thanks for viewing my video. This video I give reading and life updates from 4/8/2026 through 4/18/2026. I completed two books in this period, so I talk briefly about those two books. I read parts of two other books, so I talk briefly about those two other books. Talk about my reading plans for the near future. I'll talk about the videos I released. I'll talk about a wooble I'm working on. I'll talk about the music I listen to. And I'll talk about some other things going on in my life too. The first book I completed was Instructions for Dancing by Nicola, Yoon. The story is told in the first person by Evie. She was a big romance reader, but as the story begins, she's getting rid of her romance books. She's given up on romance because she walked into a room where her father was having a tryst with a woman who was not Evie's mother, and shortly thereafter they get divorced. But early in the book, she gets this power to see visions of people when they kiss, and she sees how the relationship started, how through the kiss, and how it ends, and she's seeing endings of the vision she's seeing, which doesn't make her feel any better about romances. Won't say any more here. Hopefully I'll review it soon. I am considerably behind on my book reviews, but I do want to get them going again. I completed the Complete Tales of H.P. Lovecraft by H.P. Lovecraft, a book I've been reading on and off for months. The final story I read was The Haunter in the Dark. And then there was a section that listed the highlights of Lovecraft's life. And then there was a final section for additional reading on him. Overall, I really enjoyed the book. For many of the stories, it was the fourth time I'm reading them. Doubtful that I will read any more of these stories again, because 4 times is a lot for me. I will have a review of this book sometime soon, although it's kind of hard to say too much about a short story collection, but I will say something about it in a review anyway, what I feel I can say about it. A book I read some of was The Genius Bat, The Secret Life of the Only Funny Mammal by Yossi Yovel. This book is both a history of the important researchers in bat research and the author's personal experience as a researcher. It kind of goes back between the other researchers and the author. It gets a little hard to follow sometimes because sometimes it's different times in history and stuff. It can be a little hard to follow, but I am enjoying it. It mostly focuses on echolocation. It does talk about some other stuff related to the bats, but it is mainly focused on that. So that central focus may or may not work for people, I think. It's not a book that I'm trying to read in a couple days either. I might read like 20 pages a day. But I am very much enjoying it. And I did start reading the Starfarer series, books 1-2, Starfarers Transition by Vonda and McIntryre. This is a book I learned about a while back from Pat at Book Chat with Pat talking about it. I think it was when Pat was reading some Star Trek books, because this author has written some Star Trek books, or did read some Star Trek books. She's deceased now. The story is set in the future. The time isn't given. But there is a vessel that they are planning to send out to investigate in space, and it's at a time when there is some potential conflict on Earth, and the U.S. president is an anti-science president and wants to try to use this vessel as a defense weapon. So there's, even early in the book, you see there's a conflict there. So it's kind of interesting, and I haven't got very far into it, but I'm enjoying it so far. As far as my plans for the near future, I want to finish The Genius Bat. I want to continue reading the Starfarer series, books 1 and 2. And I want to start reading and complete She is a Haunting by Trang Tran Tran. That is a book that maybe a couple years ago it was talked about a fair amount on BookTube. I put in a notify me request on Libby because my library didn't have the book, but I recently got a notification they did get it, so I did borrow it, and I want to read it in the allowed time frame. Can't be certain if they'll give an extension. I don't actually remember what this book is about. The cover makes it look like it's a horror novel, but I'm not sure. I just remember it was talked about a fair amount a couple years ago. As far as the videos I released in this period, I released my last Reading and Life update. I released the Childhood Books Project. I released Booktuber Name Tag 2026. And I released the Off the Shelf tag. I do want to get back to doing weekly reading updates, so I'm going to make every effort to, for the following week, to, at the end of it, to record and release a update and get back to doing them weekly. And as I said earlier, I want to also catch up on my book review videos. I've fallen far behind them. If I fall too far behind, I don't remember a book good enough to do a review justice. If that happens, it happens, but I'm going to try to avoid that. I have not been working hardly at all on any crochet projects, but I did do a little work on Lana the Alpaca. This was Lana the Alpaca. This was actually done to this point before I did my last update video, but I did do the snout. So this is the snout. So not a lot. The next thing to do is to attach the snout. Not a lot, but it's not because I don't enjoy crocheting and doing woobles. It's just that I've been doing other stuff, as I'll talk about as this video goes on. As far as the video games I've been playing, I continue to play Wild Flowers. I also started playing Tamagotchi Life, Living the Dream. It came out last Thursday. I had pre-ordered it. I don't want to do what I've done in the past, just kind of stockpile these games and never end up playing them. So even though I still have a fair amount of Wild Flowers to play, I wanted to start Tamagotchi Life, so I did. Seems interesting so far. It's kind of a different game. You're almost like a supreme being, and you're kind of helping along the lives of all these characters you create called Miis. Directing their lives, building stuff, furnishing stuff, feeding the Miis. So, interesting so far. But I have been playing between the two games too much, so I do have to cut that back. As far as music I listen to, I continue to listen to Cat's Eye, and also I watched last weekend and this weekend too. I've been watching the live streams of the Coachella Music Fest. Cat's Eye was actually one of the bands that played there, so I watched their sets on both weekends. On this fest, mostly the same group singers play on both weekends. So other people like Sabrina Carpenter, Addison Rae, Casey Musgraves. There was a P-pop band. I never heard the term before, but it's a Philippine band, kind of like K-pop bands. There's a group called Beanie. I think that's how that's pronounced, that they're really good. So just watching that a lot when I can, the live streams. So between watching those live streams, between the video games I'm playing, that's why I haven't been crocheting that much, except a little bit I showed you. I did visit a local mall, a different one than I normally go to. This one is actually doing quite well. Didn't buy anything there. I looked briefly in the Lego store, but it's kind of crowded, so I didn't buy anything. Just got something to eat at a Subway there. There is a sign there saying that Barnes & Noble is going to move in there, I think in July. So I knew there was a Barnes & Noble I normally go to is right down the street, and I knew that they were going to move out of there because their lease expired. So I went there, and still a fair amount of books, but they're well in the way of their sale to decrease the merchandise before they move. Looked around a fair amount. Kind of sad because a lot of the sections are empty now, but did buy some books. Probably the last time I go there, which does make me a little sad, although the new Barnes & Noble is going to be the new setup, which I'm kind of looking forward to seeing, because the old one it's been there for several decades. I will do a separate video showing the books I bought and a couple magazines. And because I had renewed my Barnes & Noble membership, I got a tote bag for free. Other than that, I did the normal stuff I do. Go out to eat at a few places, walk at the local mall, besides the one I just mentioned that I visited that is doing better than the one I normally go to. Watch some YouTube videos, besides the Coachella live streams. Do have a medical update I want to give, so I will, as I normally do, I will put some text in the lower left-hand corner saying medical update. So if people aren't interested, they can stop. Well, of course, you can always stop, but there's beyond this medical update, all there's going to be is my outro. So you've seen all the other content I'm going to include in this video. I had my yearly appointment with my urologist. The last few years we were able to do it via phone call, but the insurance changed the requirement, so it had to be face-to-face. Turns out that they changed it back, so next year it can be a telemedicine appointment again, but you have to meet face-to-face. The reason I'm going to a urologist is in 2019 I got diagnosed with prostate cancer. I had a robotic prostatectomy, and short term, the first few years after that, he would actually do a physical exam, a digital exam as they called it, but then he started to just go by the PSA test, which stands for prostate-specific antigen. It's a measurement that indicates whether or not you have prostate cancer. I knew that the appointment was going to go all right because I had seen my PSA test results. They were negligible. So basically, he just asked me, a few things, described how I'm doing. I'm kind of doing the same. The only issue I have on occasion. There's a little urinary leakage, but not enough to cause me to use a pad, or it depends. And it really hasn't changed in the year since my operation. So he just had me make an appointment for a year from the time. Gave me a form to use for my blood test, to get the PSA test. I do have a couple of medical appointments coming up in the coming weeks, so I'll talk about those in my next wrap-up, how they go. I would be interested in knowing how your reading week went, any books you might recommend, or music you listen to, or even video games you're playing. If you'd like to tell me, please add a comment. If you can't think of what else to comment, please add an emoji. Perhaps a tree emoji, because the leaves are coming out in the trees where I am, which is Connecticut, and I suspect very soon the leaves will be fully grown on the trees, and a lot of green. Or an emoji of your choice. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos.